Well, I think that, like all of us, when I was 8 or 9, for some reason my parents decided to set up a model railroad in their basement, which to this day they don't remember, but I just remember being so captivated by that. And then when I was 16 or 17, I just happened to be browsing through the hobby store and saw an issue of Model Railroader, and I was off and running. I'm a full-time custom layout builder and layout designer by occupation. I cater primarily to prototype modelers, those that have a particular memory or vignette in their mind that they want to capture. And then once it's completed, it's disassembled, we put it in a pods container, it's shipped to the customer site, and I assemble it, and they are off and running. I'd always been interested in Miami railroading, and as a trial, I built the East Rail layout up in my shop, and that was very successful. It was roughly a L-shaped 10 by 10 switching layout, and based on the enjoyment that I got out of that project, I decided to delve into things a little bit deeper and came up with a plan, and this is what you're looking at today. Originally, the downtown spur was the old Seaboard Airline double track into downtown Miami, and that was truncated with the construction of the I-95 interstate. For those familiar with Miami, the line starts about at the airport and splits off of the CSX main and runs pretty much east-west 3.5 miles into downtown Miami. And what makes it unique is it really seems to be locked back in 1955 in terms of the industries that you're looking at. You have a lot of small industries that just take a car or two. You have a lot of variety, so it's really ideal for model railroading. Because Miami is flat, the scenery was very simple. I just put 1.5 inches of extruded foam on top of hollow core doors. The structures in Miami have a very complex weathering pattern, which would make them very hard to model convincingly using conventional means. So what I've done, since Miami is not that hard to get to, is go to the site, take photographs from the sides of each structure, and then essentially laminate or wallpaper the photographs onto the structures, and that way I can get the exact color, weathering, and graffitiing. When you have a layout such as this, where I copied the prototype fairly accurately, it lends itself very well to prototype practices, and since I have friends with CSX, people that are rail fans in the area, I get a pretty good sense for how the trains are run. So when I have an operating session, I'll invite a couple friends over, we'll make up a switch list, and then we just copy the CSX practices. The larger industries are switched pretty much every session. That would be the scrap dealers and Trujillo. The smaller ones maybe every other. So we don't have a game of beat the clock. There is no fast clock. We want to make it relaxing. We try to employ procedures like brake tests, setting the brake wheels, operating at prototypical speeds. So although a session may go 2.5 or 3 hours, it's really not a game of gotcha. At this point, I would say the layout is 65 or 70% done. I'm going to add another locomotive with more modern decoders, and then there's a couple corners that have fairly involved scenery that I'm going to go back and start picking up in those areas. I love Miami, and it's got that Miami Vice feel, so I think I've accomplished what I wanted in terms of being transported to the area. And it's not just the layout, but the friendships that have developed in the course of pulling it together.